I ran up to the real cops, told them what happened, and handed over the man's ID. I pointed at the intruder, who was right behind me, and then looked around. There came my husband, armed with an ice pick. Hey guys, Scary Stories here. Tonight, I have an interesting one for you. It's all about cops responding to slightly paranormal phone calls. Well, the first two stories are. The third one's it's still about cops, but it's kind of funny. Well, it's not really funny. It could have went worse, but anyways. Before we get into those, though, in case you're new to the channel, I post videos like this every Thursday and Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I like to dig through the archives of the internet to find old ghost stories, news articles, and forum posts to share with you here. So, if you like all things creepy, strange, or just slightly unsettling, maybe consider hitting that little red button down below. It really helps me out and it lets YouTube know that you're enjoying the content. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into the stories. I hope you enjoy. My uncle was the sheriff of a small town in New Mexico. He was the most hardcore person in our family. Super straight-laced, never really joked around, never really BS'd. So, when he told us this story, backed up by my aunt, we all believed it, without question. A local reporter named Bob D. would always show up to any major police activity from a police scanner. Big car wrecks, fires, anything worth reporting in a local newspaper. Everybody on the force knew Bob. He was around at least once or twice a week at various police activities. Bob was a bit of a joker himself. He would mess with people by flicking behind their ears. People would react to the flicks, thinking it was a bug, only to turn around and see Bob jerking around. That's not to say that people disliked Bob. Everybody loved him. But, unfortunately, Bob had lung cancer, and he died pretty suddenly. His wife buried him, against his wishes, mind you. He always wanted to be cremated. Anyways, for the next couple weeks after his funeral, people kept talking about seeing Bob at car wrecks, fires, all the same stuff he used to report on. There was honestly about 20 or 30 reports like this from civilians and members on the force. But, like I said about my uncle, he was very straight-laced. He didn't buy it. That is until one night he and my aunt showed up at our house, gun drawn, pale as paper. We asked him what the hell happened, and he had to sit down, take his breath, compose himself, and start to outline what happened. Note that this is a guy that I never saw get rattled by anything. He said him and my aunt were sitting on the couch in their house watching TV. My uncle kept scratching his ear over and over. Finally, my aunt asked him what the problem was, and he turned around just in time to see their bedroom door open. He said he saw Bob standing in the doorway, clear as day. My uncle jumped up, saying, "Look," and my aunt turned around, just in time to see Bob too. As soon as they both made eye contact with Bob, he smiled, turned around, and walked across the living room and out their front door. They said that Bob shut the door behind himself, and he was gone. My uncle got control of himself and ran outside. He had his gun drawn, and he was looking for Bob, but he was gone. At that point, they ran over to our place. We went over and didn't see anything. but my aunt and uncle stayed at our place that night. At work the next day, all the guys on the force were giving my uncle lots of "we told you so." People around town said they saw Bob show up at the police scenes for at least another 2-3 months. My dad even saw him in our dark room in the basement with a friend. He said he was flicking their ears in the dark. During the 3rd month, people who saw Bob kept saying he looked worse and worse. My uncle even saw him 2 more times, saying he looked more worn down. My dad concluded that he was probably decomposing in the ground, and his ghost was reflecting that process. Every time my ears itch, I get goosebumps. Well, that was weird. I'll buy the ghost idea, but why did the uncles see Bob coming out of their bedroom? Never mind. Anyways, I got a couple more for you. This one's called Ghosts Were Hidden in a Woman's Basement. I was called to a home of an older woman, probably about mid-60s, I'd say. She reported that there was ghosts in her attic or her basement, and every night they would come out and make tons of noise. She's been too scared to get out of bed, so she decided to finally call the police. She said all this paranormal activity has been going on for about a week or so. Anyways, I go in and I don't hear anything. I check the basement and the attic as she shows me around. I shine my light in the attic, but I don't see anything. We head to the basement next, which had the lights on, but still, nothing to be seen. So, I try to reassure the lady. There's no ghosts to be found in the house. A week goes by, and I get a call back to her home, but this time I'm working the night shift. Maybe I'll see a real ghost this time, I thought. And this is when they're really supposed to come out, right? I go to check the basement, nothing. And then I check the attic. And there's this man with torn clothes huddled in a corner. Apparently, somebody's been climbing in through her windows on cold winter nights. This one's kind of a cop story. It's more a fake cop story, but that still counts, right? Anyways, it's called Armed with an Ice Pick. One night, when my daughters were about 3 and 7, I put them to bed and then went to bed myself. At about 2 a.m., I was awakened from the sound of my husband yelling, "Call 911, there's somebody in here." I ran out of bed and saw my husband tussling with a man on the stairs. I called the cops and told them that there was a man in the house fighting with my husband. Then, all of a sudden, I saw that the man had his hands wrapped around my husband's neck. I yelled, "Take your hands off my husband!" And, to my astonishment, the man obeyed, then said solicitously, "Are you okay, ma'am?" "Yes," I answered. "Get out of here. Why are you choking my husband? Out!" Then the intruder said, "Ma'am, I'm a police officer, and I'm here to arrest this man. Here's my badge and ID." And then he handed me his driver's license. Just then, I heard the real police show up. I ran outside, with the attacker/intruder/nut/wannabe cop's driver's license in my hand. I ran up to the real cops, told them what happened, and handed over the man's ID. I pointed out the intruder, who was right behind me, and then looked around. There came my husband, armed with an ice pick. Fortunately for the crazy guy, he didn't have a chance to use it. The cops stuck the nut in the car, turned to me and said, "Ma'am, do you have any children?" "Yes. 2 little girls, actually." "May we come in and check on them? We think this may be the man who's pretending to be a cop, going into people's homes and attacking their children." "Oh, well." I ushered them into my girls' room, but they were sleeping peacefully. I never did find out what happened to that guy. I got one call asking if I wanted to press charges, which I said yes, but they never called me back. But apparently, he wasn't the child attacker. A year later, we read that the real child attacker was arrested on his parents' porch, just a couple houses down from us. Well, what do you think of those? What do you think of cops dealing with slightly paranormal activity? I read a few stories about them actually getting phone calls from deceased people and stuff. I'll include those in another video sometime. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to give it a like, dislike it if you disliked it, and I hope you're treating yourself well. You really deserve it. But that's all I got for you tonight. Thanks for listening if you made it this far, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.